Cindy Hodnett with Furniture Today. We are here on the ground in Miami at the 2023 Leadership Conference. I'm very pleased to have Jim Holmes with Wells Fargo Financial Advisors here as my guest. Jim, first of all, welcome to Miami.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Delightful to be here.
We're so excited to have you here. Now, I know your role here at the conference is a little bit different than most of the folks here, but from your perspective with, as a financial analyst and guru, what are some of the things that you should be at the top of every home furnishing industry company's critical goals for 2024?
Well, there are probably a number of them for 2024, but of course, the first thing is to be financially solvent and steady and have your lending sources lined up. That's been quite a challenge for a number of folks this year, is dealing with lenders, whether it be banks or pension funds or private equity. But I think that's very important. And then another thing for people, particularly if it's a family-owned business, is to have a succession plan in place. And that should always be there. You shouldn't wake up and say, gosh, who's going to take my place when I'm gone? So I'd say those two things would be very important as we move into 2024.
And we've had several conversations leading up to the conference, and I know with a lot of things that have transpired in the industry this year, there's been a lot of chatter about private equity. There's been a lot of chatter about consumer pessimism. You have thoughts on both of those. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, private equity is a very interesting phenomenon, and it's becoming more and more prevalent in this industry because the lenders are having to pull their reins in quite a bit. So you're finding more and more private equity, people taking a position in different companies, and it's got kind of two sides to it. The good part is they're well capitalized and they provide a lot of capital. Sometimes the downside would be that they over-lever a company, and you don't want to get in a position where you have too much leverage and therefore you aren't able to operate. We've seen that happen in a few instances.
Yeah.
But it's very important to have a good relationship and a communication channel with a private equity group if they're involved. So that's something that we really ought to look to this coming year and be sure that you have a real good working relationship if you have a private equity group that you're working with.
And I know, again, the consumer, you actually feel pretty positive about the consumers.
I do. I think it's amazing that the consumer's been very resilient this year. We've seen interest rates go up, and of course that affects everybody that's got, for example, credit cards or debt that's not fixed, a variable debt, whether it's a mortgage or other things in their company. But the consumer, which represents 70% of our gross domestic product, has held in there pretty well.
Yeah.
I think as we go forward into 2024, I think that will, while not a straight line up, it'll be some rocky waters, but I do think the consumer will hang in there and come back to market and look for more furniture and look for more furnishings. It's going to be an interesting year, particularly with an election year, but I think the consumer will hang in there. I think they'll be strong.
I mean, that's good news for our folks. Everybody wants to hear that. So we'll wrap up. You're going to be one of our guests on Thursday at a retailer-only closed session where you'll go around, meet with some of the retailers and give them a little bit of advice. With regard to maybe what might happen between now and then, crystal ball, what are some of the takeaways that you think a conference like this will offer to both the manufacturer side and the retail side?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity because if you're a retailer, you can talk with other retailers that you know or that you meet here and learn about what they're doing, how they're dealing with different challenges and what they're looking at going forward. Manufacturers, same sort of thing. So it's kind of a parallel retailer to retailer and manufacturer to manufacturer. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity to network and see what's going on with your associates and your competitors and really learning from one another to try to get a feel for how to position your business going forward. So that, to me, would be the great takeaway is how do I position my business if I'm a retailer or if I'm a manufacturer? Do I expand? Do I add more people? How does automation fit in? That, as I will address later on, is a huge component going forward. the buzzwords of artificial intelligence.
Yes,
We hear
yes.
that about every third word these days.
Absolutely.
But it's real. There are a number of companies out there. There's one company I follow very closely that has automated warehouses for a huge corporation, and that's a game changer. It operates more efficiently, more cost effective, but at what price? What does that do to jobs?
Right.
So it's not a straight line up. It'll have some bumps, but clearly artificial intelligence going forward is going to be a major part of this industry and all other industries.
We are going to continue that conversation in the months to come for sure. In the meantime, stay tuned to Furniture Today's coverage here at the Leadership Conference. Get the takeaways and see what you need to know for 2024.